I see a cool little green button down there.
Yeah, we are live. This is our first time I've actually been interviewed on this before. Check it out. I'm doing all this. Look, here we are. We're live. So if you are here already with us, I see quite a few people have already hopped on. Go ahead and say hello. I'd love to see all of you guys' comments coming through. And I am here with Emanuel. I'm going to say Emanuel Z, because I need you to say your last name for me, because I can't pronounce it.
Zevallos.
Zevallos.
That's perfect. That was actually perfect.
Emanuel Zevallos. And he is the genius behind the emotion code practice called Coding Alternative. You guys have probably seen me posting all over the place about Emanuel Karsten and the business there. Because I've been working with him. I think it was my third session just a little bit ago, and I feel awesome. So maybe you guys don't know too much about the emotion code and what that is. So that is why we're here tonight, to tell everybody. And we've got, let's see, we've got Katya, Jeannie, Leah, hello. Awesome to see all of you guys. Edisham, Jeannie says, it's working. Awesome. And Katya says, hello, lovely. I'm not sure if that's to you or me, Emanuel.
You can take that one. I'll take whatever's left over.
Awesome. So I'll go ahead and get into it. And I'm always so excited. If I forget something, just be like, hey, calm down. So, Emanuel, I know a little bit about this, but everyone, how did you get started in this line of work with the emotion code?
Well, first of all, I just want to say there's a little bit of an echo, so I don't know if it's just me or do you hear an echo at all or no?
I don't, no.
Okay, good times. Okay, now the echo's gone. Okay, so anyway, I just wanted to, first of all, just say I'm really grateful I can be here with you, Jessica, and I really admire the fact that you have a lot of people looking at this, and just, I know you have a great, a great group of people that basically you work with, and so I know you're admired by many people. So I just wanted to, first of all, just say I'm really happy that I could be here, number one. But yeah, so I'm over here in Las Vegas. My wife actually owns the practice Coding Alternative. You asked me, how did I get into this? So what's interesting is both my parents are actually both oncologists. So I was hoping that I could throw this in my story and say there was like a little strand of DNA that was in my body that basically propelled me to the emotion code. I'm just going to use that story. But I think the main thing was these three things. I know we have a lot of entrepreneurs that are looking into this. Maybe you're not an entrepreneur. Maybe you're just a stay-at-home mom, or whatever you're doing right now. You're going to notice that most people would agree that there's some type of emotional baggage that we're all carrying, or some type of chronic pain in their body. And so I just noticed that that's a very universal thing. If you're watching this right now and you feel disconnected, this is something where we all connect, and we usually have emotional baggage, and we all have some type of pain in our body. And so, but my parents were both oncologists, and the interesting thing though, even though they're, people say, oh, well, then you're very, these people are very successful, things like that. There are some things that are happening behind the curtain that kind of made me curious to kind of find the emotion code. And it's kind of like when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. You guys probably know that phrase. Well, it's the same thing. The three things that really bothered me, number one was my parents were together for 30 years, and then they basically divorced after 30 years. So I don't know about you, but for me, it was like a very, very big deal that, like, why would these people stay together for 30 years and then basically split up? It just didn't make any sense to me, right? That's number one. So there has to be something going on. And so I didn't have the answers to it. So that was something that was pressing on me. Number two was my mother was an oncologist, and she passed away, ironically, because of cancer. So pancreatic cancer in 2011. And one of the things that kind of got to me was I started working on her mindset a little bit, kind of like 5 months before she passed away. And I was basically asking her, I was like, what are some limiting beliefs that you have? And what was shocking to me is she said, I don't feel like I'm good enough. I don't know if some of you guys can relate to that, but some of the most successful people, like my mother, have these limiting beliefs. And it just hurt me to know that in 5 months she wasn't going to be on this earth, and she still thinks that lowly of herself. And even though everything around her shows that she's successful, something was dying on the inside. And I asked her, I'm like, where'd you get that from? She said, my mother always told me that. So that kind of also bothered me too. Like, how could you hold on to such a long, limiting belief for so long? That's number two. And the last thing that interested me about the emotion code was I used to be an entrepreneur for 8-10 years in the direct sales industry. And I recently listened to a CD that said, 70% of people will leave the business. Don't focus on the 70%, focus on the 30%. And I was like, well, that's not fair. I'm like, that's a lot of people, like 70%, that ain't no small group, And so what kind of made me kind of curious was like what sabotaged these people? Like, these people saw the vision. They saw themselves, they envisioned their family succeeding and all this stuff. They got trained, they did all this stuff, but then they just kind of slowly kind of just gave away to just fail. And so those are the things that kind of bothered me. And literally three months later, the emotion code showed up on Amazon. I was just looking for a self-development book. And then the rest is history. I basically read the emotion code and I got very interested in it. So.
Wow. And it's so cool. Whenever we are looking for something, truly searching, I know we were talking about being a truth seeker. Whenever we are looking for something, we're going to find it. But so many times we do have that wall up and we're like, I don't want to change my beliefs. I'm right. And I loved it in our session where we were talking about that. I was like, oh no. So yeah, I also wanted to, I guess I kind of went into this question about what you did before the coding alternative. Like, I understand you were, really successful in network marketing, and a lot of the people that are in network marketing and may be part of that 70%. So what could you tell them, that might really want it, but there's just something keeping them, like, holding them back? What can they do?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, just a little slight adjustment on my history is that just because I've been in direct sales for a very long time, actually, I wish I was successful. I just really I actually felt like there was a lid on top of me. And so what I want to tell those people out there that maybe are struggling within direct sales or owning your own business, really any type of endeavor, what's really holding us back are two things. One is this thing called the heart wall, which is a discovery from Dr. Bradley Nelson. He said that 93% of people have this heart wall. What's really interesting about that percentage, 93%, is it reminds me when I was taught in a training once that 95% of people that turn 65 either depend on their family or pass away. So they're either gone from this life or they're depending on their family. So that means only 5% make the grade. So I just kind of found it interesting that when I heard that, it's like 95, 93%. I'm like, it's pretty close, And so 93% of people have a heart wall. And another thing that holds people back is your past. Now, I want you to, if everyone can picture kind of like driving in a car, think of like all the emotional trauma you've received in your life, and let's just put it all in the back seat of a car. Let's just like all the people that were involved, and maybe they were doing the same scenario all in the back seat. And you're driving, and every time you look in the rearview mirror, it gives you, sweaty palms, and then you have to even train your brain to say, just keep focusing on the road, focus on the road. That's really what everyone's going through. So I think that's one of the main big silent saboteurs of the industry, are just people don't realize that they're still very, they're not at peace with their past at all, and it's too close to them. And so they suffer with this looking back all the time and go, hey, just drive. But then also this heart wall and which I'll talk about later, is a huge, huge reason why finances aren't, finally coming in. So those are the two different things.
So with this emotion code, is this something that people can do on their own, or do they need to have an emotion code practitioner?
Yeah, great question. So in regards to the emotion code, the book was made sort of like a self-help book that you could, kind of use it yourself. It teaches you even the methods, how to use it. I use a magnet, which you can get in the Nikan website. So just to kind of give you guys, I might as well just talk about, since you're talking about this, is what is the emotion code? Because I know some of you guys are brand new, maybe you don't know what it is. So maybe I'll kind of redirect it. We'll talk about what is the emotion code, and then I'll answer that question is, what, can I do it by myself? So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Reiki healing or theta healing. There's different types of energy healing out there. Emotion code is just another mode of healing. And what the emotion code is, obviously, if we were all to just, look at the, below our skin, below our bones, below, everything, is just, we're just energy vibrating, right? And these emotions that we feel are actually energies. They're literally like the size of a tennis ball or a cantaloupe. And we're supposed to just experience them, and they're supposed to kind of go on their own way. But I don't know if you've ever had a friend before say, man, I've been worried all day, or I've been worried all week. And then we actually let that pass us and go, well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you broke up with your girlfriend, or, oh, it makes sense. But they actually could have been giving sort of a subconscious sort of they're telling you that they have a trapped emotion in their body. So how do you get a trapped emotion? Is these little energies around you, basically, when you have a very strong overcharged emotion like deep sadness, deep anger, deep frustration, what happens is these energies can get stuck in your body. Hence, Dr. Nelson calls them a trapped emotion. And it actually gets lodged near the organ with a similar frequency. So, for example, anger, bitterness, guilt, resentment, hatred are lodged around the liver area. That's why when people tend to drink alcohol, they tend anger, bitterness, guilt, resentment can come out pretty easily. Those who suffer with heart issues, it's abandonment, putting love into something, not getting it back, putting effort into something, not getting it back. And so what's really interesting is that when we look into our body, we actually that we're trying to crack the code of what's holding us back. And what I do is I use applied kinesiology, which is muscle testing. Many of you are familiar. It's been around for a while. Just muscle testing, but I do it at a distance. So whether you're in London, Australia, Hong Kong, we have clients all over the world. And basically we place, I'm muscle testing myself. And what I do is I find these trapped emotions that are either holding you back emotionally or holding you back physically. And I basically release them with a magnet. So that's kind of the thing behind the emotion code. And the beautiful thing is there's a lot of benefits of clearing trapped emotions, which maybe I'll mention later on. But the one thing is, can you do it by yourself? Sure. There is something called a projection, though. And sometimes if you're not in the right mindset, you could project your own ideas and thoughts and answers. And so then you get inaccurate answers while you're working on yourself. Hence why I actually have a friend who works on me every single weekend, is because I want to be unbiased. I want to get unbiased answers. So, you could, but it's recommended. What you'll notice is you tend to project, depending on your state in the day. And the last thing I'll mention this is, as far as the emotion code, here are the four, if anyone's taking notes, here are the 4 benefits of clearing trapped emotions. I think it's really important because people are like, so what's the benefit of removing these guys from the body? Well, let me tell you. And then maybe you can equalize it to why it's why it can sabotage you. Number 1 is when you're, it'll make you more proactive with your emotions, not reactive. So right now, technically, most of us are very reactive people. Something happens to us and then boom, we react. Something happens, boom, we react. And that doesn't really help us out in the lives. If we want to live a very fulfilling life, we need to be more proactive with our emotions. So what happens is let's say, for example, that we'll use you as an example, Jessica, that maybe, at 6 years old, you had a lot of anger towards your father. Okay. And so it wasn't just a regular anger, it was deep anger. And so it got stuck near the liver, and I find it as an emotion code practitioner. I release it. So if it's a trapped emotion, usually what it means is that it shows up a lot very frequently. It doesn't take you too much to feel angry. It's almost like you're living in a residual of something that happened before. So when I remove this trapped emotion, there's probably 20 left in your body throughout your whole entire life. And as I remove more and more of the same thing, anger at 19, anger at 15, anger at 12, I start removing them, you'll notice that your reactivity to that emotion goes less and less. So right now, let's say if you feel anger, it takes up 1/4 of your day, 4 hours or whatever, 5 hours, right? What'll happen is as I start removing, it'll go from 5 hours, 4 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, to the point where you feel anger and then boom, it just leaves you. Imagine how much more productive you would be if these negative emotions came to you and then they could just immediately take off, right? So that's number 1. The second benefit is also it releases pain or imbalances in the body. Number 3, here's a big one, guys. It's called neutralizing your past. What that means is you're able to have complete peace with your past. I work with clients that have PTSD, anxiety, depression. And what's really interesting is that as I'm working with them, if releasing trapped emotions doesn't do number 3, they can get panic attacks or they can get anxiety attacks because they're still stuck to their past. But as I remove these, they start having a lot of peace with their past. And you guys will be very surprised how much your past actually haunts you. And some of you are on here like, no, I know my past haunts me. I just don't know how to get rid of it. I've read every self-development book. I've done NLP. I've tapped on myself, but just nothing can get it out. Well, the emotion code goes straight to the core of what's holding you back and just removes it. So those are kind of like the 3 benefits of releasing trapped emotions. So just wanted to kind of give a good explanation for those of you who are brand new.
Awesome. Yeah, I know we're having a little bit of lag, but I heard all of it. That's good. So I have one friend that's a very, very dear friend of mine. And one of the things that she's noticed is that a certain person really triggers her, even though they may not be doing anything at that point. They can even say something nice, but it just really triggers her. Is that probably a trapped emotion?
Yeah. So that reminds me of a client that I work with that she basically got very upset. This is someone who cleared their heart wall. They've kind of moved forward. We haven't talked about the heart wall yet, but I know we will. But basically, she's gone through some sessions already. And she says, Emanuel, I don't know why, but I really freaked out on my boyfriend the other day. What's going on, And then I said, well, we still haven't gone through your past yet. We haven't neutralized your past, which is the whole thing, like having peace with your past. So guess what? What happens? We go there. I think we left off around 19 to 23, or was it like 21 to 25, 26. And I'm muscle testing, just looking for every single trapped emotion I can find. And she says, oh, these are going to be some rough years. This was like the worst relationship, most abusive relationship I've had. And it was a 3-year relationship. So I started releasing that, and that was exactly why this person triggers it. So the answer to your friend, there are certain things people do to you that remind you of something that happened to you in the past, and it subconsciously triggers it. So you over exaggerate the emotion that you actually want to experience, just because your body feels like as if it went to the past real quick, and it feels like, oh, you're reminding me of this in my life. You're reminding me of this. And then your body just it just comes out with the reaction, and and then you feel apologetic afterwards, like I don't know why I acted that way. And then for a whole day you're like, I don't know, I can't believe I did that to him. I can't. That's regret, because you actually have made it automatic. Subconscious means you can't even act upon it. So hopefully that answers the question. Is basically, yeah, it triggers something in your past that needs to be removed. As we remove it, we go through your timeline, then you won't react to that person that way. The trigger will be gone. So.
Oh, wow. That's really powerful, especially for those of us that have a lot of triggers. Man, we could just be like sane from now on. So awesome. I love that. So we've been referencing the heart wall a lot, and I'm sure everyone is like, oh, come on, tell us what this heart wall is. So if you want to go ahead and go into what the heart wall is, then this would be a great time to share that.
Okay, so here's the one thing I want to tell you guys is that I was a victim of the heart wall, and I became a product of not having the heart wall. So it's interesting that we've cleared about over 150 people's heart walls in the last few months. And so a lot of people are making this huge shift about what it is and using it to their advantage. Just to let you guys know what Dr. Bradley Nelson said, he said the greatest discovery in energy healing is the heart wall. Now, in my mind, most of you guys think this guy's a gullible practitioner. I'm really not. I'm actually one of the most skeptical people you'll ever meet. And one of the things that I heard when I heard that he said it was the greatest discovery, I even questioned it. I was like, well, of course it's the greatest discovery because you found it. It's like the next time I discover something, I'm going to call it the greatest discovery. See, that's what my mind was thinking, right? Just being real. Can I be real with you guys? Okay, let's just be real. And then all of a sudden, I spoke to a Reiki master for 20 years, and she says, I feel like something's holding me back. So 20-year practice, something's still holding her back. As soon as I started mentioning the symptoms of the heart wall, she says, I've experienced that my whole life. There's only one culprit. I'm like, yeah, the culprit's the heart wall. So many of you guys who are about to listen to me say these symptoms, you've actually experienced the heart wall without even knowing that it was a heart wall. So basically, this is what the heart wall is. And it was discovered by Dr. Bradley Nelson. He actually had some type of vision where basically he saw his wife's heart 5 miles deep into the ground, and there's this beautiful floor over it, and he basically asked a question for the first time in history: is there a heart wall? Do you have a heart wall? Because he couldn't describe what it was, and the body, when he was muscle testing it, basically agreed with it. Now, what happened is the heart wall is, many of you, have you guys ever felt, I know I've asked you this question, Jessica, is like, have you ever had have you ever felt that pain where like you feel like your heart's breaking or your heart feels heavy? Most of us have. But what we don't know is that our subconscious creates this kind of layer over the heart. And basically every time it creates this layer, it's basically made out of a trapped emotion. So people ask me, what is the layer made out of? It's actually made out of trapped emotion. And so a lot of us begin this commencement of this heart wall the first time your heart starts feeling pain. So a lot of it, when I work with clients, it's actually in the trimesters that they feel pain, because the mother is actually projecting stress. For those of you mothers out there that, bless you, you have a kid, that you actually technically affect your child emotionally. So if you're having a really stressful time, it's any moment that son or daughter will have a heart wall being created, and you've created the first layer in the trimester. Then what happens is the subconscious actually says, okay, anytime your heart hurts, Jessica, I'm going to cover you with another layer and another layer. So how many times have your heart felt that pain where it just hurts emotionally? Many times in our life, and then we're just adding layers. What adds to those layers? Physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse. People that have chronic depression, chronic anxiety, PTSD, actually have the same issue as you do, Jessica, but they just have more layers. So that's kind of the explanation of the heart wall. But let me tell you the 5 symptoms of the heart wall, okay, real quick. And number 1 is low immune system and low energy. Okay, so low immune system, low energy. So whatever your immune system is, wherever your energy is, you can have more of it, right? Like 2 times more, 3 times more. Who wouldn't want more energy? I'll take it, So number 2 is indecisiveness of mission, where you're like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It's this whole like fog about your mission. And now what if you're like, Emanuel, I already know my mission. Ha, I got you there. Well, it's mentally confirmed, but not confirmed through the heart. After high school, where they say, follow your liver, follow your stomach. No, they say follow your heart. But it's kind of hard to follow your heart if you have a wall in front of it. So it's mentally confirmed, but not confirmed with the heart. Well, why does it matter, Emanuel, if it's confirmed by the heart? Oh, everything. You'll have more joy, happiness, elation during the journey. I mean, who wants more happiness, joy, and elation during your journey? I would. So that's the second one. The third one is it's called Desensitized Heart, which means that when people give you love and affection, sometimes you just tend to see it and not feel it. That's another issue too. What can that cause? Number 1 is it could cause codependency. Like you have to go somewhere else to fill up your heart cup, and even then it doesn't work. Then number 2 is you could excuse the abuser. Some of you guys know some women or men that go back into relationships and you're like, what are you doing? Don't do it. He's a bad guy. But for some reason they keep going back and you're like, what's going on with that person? They're basically abusing the heart wall. They understand that they can cover themselves, and they'll just say, oh, he's having a bad day, or oh, he was drunk, and da-da-da. Then boom, a heart wall is created, and it keeps adding to it. But they're actually on a freight train to depression and anxiety. That's the problem. So when they break up in their relationship, that normal girl that used to say, I don't know what's wrong with that girl, check on her 2 years later, and check on her when she's broke up with him. All of a sudden, she's taking depression pills. She can't sleep well at night. She has anxiety. That's because she's abused that heart wall. That's number 3. Number 4 is your love language gets lost in translation, which means imagine this beautiful butterfly coming out of your heart, this message, and it has to go through all these walls, anger, depression, sadness, these walls that you made. And then basically it becomes a strange looking creature. And that's the message that your partner hears. Some of you guys may be struggling in relationships where you hear a lot of, what do you mean by that? Or what do you mean by that? And that basically comes from miscommunication, that they hear something different from what you said. And that's not just your partner, that's also your customers. That's also your business partners. So it's like you might be doing everything right, but the music isn't right. You're off key, The 5th one is abundance and wealth. So, it's a big, imagine if you know someone that has their mission orientation in their mind and their heart, they know how to receive love and give love, all of a sudden abundance starts coming to them because of the way they make people feel. So that's it. That's the 5 symptoms of the heart wall. Imagine if you had control of those 5 things. I mean, we don't attract just people who come over here who are, sad or depressed. We attract high achievers. We attract life coaches. We attract CEOs. We attract a dozen top earners from different companies. And they understand, like, look, man, I've got emotional baggage. I got stuff that needs to be cleared. And I feel like something is holding me back. That's the heart wall. So hopefully that gives a pretty good explanation of it.
No, that's very powerful. It makes perfect sense now that I know about it. I can tell you, I live in the Bible Belt, so there's a lot of people that are probably going to watch this and they're going to say, what? And what meaning, oh my gosh, is this witchcraft? Are you consorting with Satan or what?
Consorting.
What is going on here? Like, what is giving you these answers? Are you downloading it from a higher power? What is it that's happening here with this healing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, I just want to let it out there that I am a Christian, number one. Number two is Dr. Bradley Nelson is a Christian. And that's a really important number two, that the founder of the Emotion Code and the Body Code is Christian. It's one of the only energy healing books that, if you get the Emotion Code by Dr. Bradley Nelson, I wish I got paid every time I endorse his book, but I swear I endorse the man's book all the time. You can get it at Amazon. I get no credit for it, but it is probably the second most life-changing book, second to the scriptures. The reason why I say that is because as of now, when it comes to Christianity, the question is when you look at doctors, you look at psychologists, and you see very, very good results, you can call them miraculous results, but they're not. They're using knowledge that they've learned and they've applied it. You can take a carpenter who grafts wood and basically makes it into a chair, a most beautiful, elegant chair. You wouldn't call it witchcraft. You just said he used the tools around him to create a chair, right? But if it's a really nice chair, you might call it a miraculous chair. So the reason why people kind of get nervous about energy healing is because the results are amazing. They're astounding. And people are not used to that. And so, but all you're really doing is working with what God gave you. You're not putting your arm to the square. You're not asking for God to create a miracle for this person. That's not how it works. I mean, in the beginning of the sessions, I do pray. I mean, we've both worked together. And if you notice, I just said, hey, let's both pray together. I respect your faith, but let's just pray together. But in the most sense, I'm just using what God placed on this earth towards our advantage. What's the negative queen that I'm playing with? Pharmaceutical companies and sometimes doctors who we all know, I mean, we're not really closed-minded that perhaps it may be a money game, right? And so, it's the pharmaceutical companies aren't like, let's make sure everyone feels better with these depression pills. Like they're not really caring about that. Let's just be real. And so whenever there's negative opposition, there has to be what? Positive, right? Whenever there's depression, there's an increase. So what's the increase is energy healing. Energy healing is the answer for a world that mainly is about greed. And basically what we're using energy as a tools to help people. And for those people, actually, I kind of clarify with sometimes people go, how are you getting these answers? All I'm doing is I'm using muscle testing. That's it. Like if you see my fingers here, I'm just doing muscle testing here. And basically like this would be a yes. If I'm pushing down this finger on this finger here and I'm asking a question that's truthful, let's say my name's Emanuel, it's going to test strong yes. If I say my name is Derek, then I'm going to push it, it's going to go no. And like even if I try to push up really hard, my name is Derek, it just still doesn't push up. Basically, the body knows it stands within its truth. I even challenge any of you guys who are watching right now, if you want to try muscle testing on yourself, go ahead and stand up later on. Just stand up in your room and just kind of put your feet a little bit apart. Start thinking of really amazing, peaceful things like you reaching your full potential, you following your heart, you having success in life, and you finding happiness. And watch how you'll slowly start tilting forward. And then if you think about war or negativity or things like that, you slowly start tilting backward. So I'm using just our body that God made us as one tool, just like getting answers from the body. That's number one. Number two, there's nothing really special about a magnet. I mean, all it does is it really just shifts energy. So there's nothing, if you guys want to put this on a credit card, that credit card's not going to be doing too well. Or if you put this on a hotel, maybe somebody you don't like, Maybe start putting this on their hotel key. Maybe they won't be able to get into their hotel room. If you put this on a computer, magnets usually mess up computers because you're switching energy around. So it's known to shift energy. And then another thing that's known to shift energy is putting my intention that I want to help somebody out. And so that also helps to make the energy even stronger. Thoughts are energy, you see? So there's nothing really like, we're talking quantum physics here. It's not really, I mean, we are using God's tools, but it's more quantum physics. And then at the end of the day, when I'm placing this on my head, which is like the governing meridian, it basically helps other people out. I'm basically connecting with people on an energetic level. So I actually tell people, I'm like, I'm not contacting a spirit. I'm actually just connecting with you and then muscle testing you and then applying this magnet on myself, and then heals that person over there. And a lot of people say, well, how can you do it long distance? That doesn't make any sense. Like, it's like, that's got to be a miracle. It's long distance. Well, I mean, in some way, it sounds miraculous, but in quantum physics, it's called non-locality. It just means something happens here, then it reacts over there. They actually have they did a scientific experiment on a Navy veteran who had PTSD, and they basically took some cells, some white cells, and they put it on a petri dish, and they put some connectors on it so they can see the reactivity of it. And they put it really far away from him, like a mile away. And then they put connectors on him to see how his sensitivity is when he starts seeing graphic war images. And then he starts seeing it over here. And then the same reactivity that was happening in his body was happening to his white blood cells a mile away. I mean, how could you explain that? Again, just because we don't understand it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So it's just, I think a lot of people are very quick to be like, if you're receiving these amazing results, you have to be using some type of authority. But really, we're just using tools that God gave us. Hopefully that kind of answers your question.
Yeah, that's great, because actually today I was talking to one of my friends, and she was like, I don't get it, but I do know it works because I'm experiencing less pain. And she's actually, from the medical side of things, and she's like, I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know. I'm like, well, heck, I can't explain it to you really, because I don't know. I'm just kind of riding this crazy train. I love it. And so I'm sure she said she was on your YouTube channel just watching video after video. So that's, one of the truth seekers, people that are, open and looking for the truth versus looking for a way to confirm they're right. That whole confirmation bias thing going on there. So, yeah, it is interesting when you see the energy working from far away. But like I told her, it's just the same as, you're thinking of your friend and they call you. I don't know what was going on. I was thinking of you. Well, I was thinking of you. What do you know? So it's always energy going around. It's going crazy sometimes. And
yeah, and just to add to that, science is based on research done only used by 5 senses. So we have to understand that science is actually very, very limiting. Even though people go, oh, it's very expansive. It's not, because we only have 5. So there's thousands of things that are happening around us right now that we can't literally put down on paper as data. We just can't. So it's like the reality is we have to just look at the results. Like, how are people feeling? Is pain actually leaving, or is it just mental? Another one of the most beautiful ways to show that it isn't just mental, because some people say, well, this is probably some type of placebo effect. Well, if it was a placebo effect, why would a child change if the mother says, I give you permission to work with my child, and then the mother says nothing to the child, and all of a sudden his behavior improves, his grades improve, the way he says, I love you, Mom, and it says more frequently. What happened? Well, again, that's just another proof that, and it just makes sense. I feel like God's love is very expansive. He doesn't just love one person in one country. I feel like he loves everyone. And, no matter what race, creed, religion you are, he loves everyone. And it just makes sense that I'm not connecting with you energetically to find out the lotto numbers that are in your pocket. I'm really doing it because I want to help you, So it only makes sense that it would work just because we live in a very loving universe. I mean, that's just how it is, Now,
we were talking a little bit about pain, and I know we have the emotion code, but there's also something called the body code. What exactly is that?
Yeah. So for those of you who maybe are having issues with body pain, we have a body code practitioner. His name's Carson Shields, and he's working with people that have rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, autism, things like that. And basically, we don't say we cure people. What we say is we basically help remove imbalances in the body. And so it's very key to not say anything like cure, because again, some men in a suit will show up outside of my house, and who knows what they'll do to me. But basically, what you want to say is you just want to say we're helping out, we're releasing imbalances. Doctors usually work with symptoms, and we work with imbalances. They do this thing called masking symptoms, and when we try to remove the root problem. Just because you provide chemo, is a perfect example. When you provide treatment for cancer and the cancer comes back, that's because the root problem wasn't taken out, and that's why the relapse shows up. So we're looking for more permanent, long-term healing, and you can only do that by removing imbalances. And so we just disease is just a bunch of symptoms of an imbalance that's there. That's all it is. So the body code goes into deeper. Like if you have even smoking addiction, drinking addiction, thyroid problems, any type of body issue, the body code is way more specific and kind of goes in there and finds out what's going on. So the emotion code is more of trapped emotions that cause pain, and then it's also the heart wall. And then body code is deep, serious body issues, and then it goes in there and helps that area out.
Awesome. That's awesome. So as you've been looking over the body code and the emotion code, what has been your greatest discovery? Between
both of them? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the greatest discovery for me is still the heart wall. It's just that I think the world right now where we live, it doesn't take a genius to say that I think the world has a heart wall problem, and I think people, what you don't know will hurt you. And it was only time before the emotion code came to me, because these things were that's why I tell people when I meet with people, I'm like, that there's only 4,000 practitioners in the world, 4,000 emotion code practitioners. That's it. That's not a lot. That's very, very few. That's like an ant in comparison to a huge colony. And somehow it came to you. And so the reality is just, you're doing something to attract the emotion code to your life. You're ready for the next level. And so whenever I talk to people, I'm like, I admire you for whatever you're doing, because I might not know you. We might have just first met. But whatever you're doing attracted me into your life, and there's something that you're deserving to go to the next level, to free yourself from your past, and to also remove these walls from your heart. And some people are ready for it, some people are not. But maybe even when I meet them, and maybe they never see me ever again, at least now they know. They're like, if I ever get to the point where it's breaking point, I always know where he is. I know where Emanuel is. So.
Awesome.
I think it's the heart wall. The heart wall is the main one.
So you had mentioned, you said we don't just work with people that are broken, dysfunctional people. We also work with people that are high achievers. So what is kind of, your target market? Are you just looking to help anyone that's searching, or who is it that you really, really want to work with?
I work with anyone that is open, basically, and it could be a child. It could be an adult. We also work with animals. I know it's kind of funny. Animals actually they have a range of 60 emotions, just like humans. If you've ever thought that this horse feels sad, you're probably right. This horse feels anxious, you're probably right. When it comes to dogs or cats, they all have range of emotions. And so Dr. Bradley Nelson started off with working on horses and started noticing huge differences working on horses. But he was nervous. He was like, here goes. Let's see if horses experience the same emotions. He had to go out there and really put himself on a limb here, he even said, he's like, let's just see what happens. And he started having amazing results. And people who are horse owners, they know their horses. If there's behavior change, or if they're not limping anymore, or if they're not, one of the big one was, for example, just to show you an example of a horse one, like a 2-second story is, a horse actually witnessed, I believe, a bird egg fall from sort of the top of a stable, and it fell down and cracked, and the baby bird died. And the horse started having these bladder issues, started urinating a lot in many different areas, and bladder, according to the emotion code, could be like depression, or like different things, like just feeling very depressed, or resentment that he couldn't do something, you see? And so it's just there. And then as soon as they removed the trapped emotion, everything became fine. Again, just another thing that the horse actually felt compassion for this animal that fell down there, that it couldn't do anything. The mother was suffering because of it. So to answer your question, I personally love working with just people who are achievers, people who want to do something in their life, and they just feel stuck. Those are my favorite. My second favorite are probably children. Third is animals. But I mean, I love working with all of them. But as far as like, I love people, I tend to meet people who are like my life has gotten here. Like, what do I need to do to take it here? That's it. And they're open. So.
Well, I have to say that just one session that we did, one emotion that you cleared for me was worry, and it happened to be linked to also my son William, and he'll probably watch this one day. So he is he causes some patience in me. Let's just say that. Sure. And he is he makes me have to get really creative with ways to get him to do what I want him to do. And I can say that like the next day, my husband and him had never been able to connect to the level that we had, and it kind of made me feel special. But then I was like, "That's mean." And so the next day, my husband came to me and he really truthfully didn't want to tell me this because he knew that I was going to say, I knew it. It's doing something. So he kind of reluctantly was like, William told me he loved me. And I'm like, what? Because like he told you, he said, usually it's like, I love you, but not as much as a cat or mom or the neighbor down the street. And that day, especially the day after, it was just like, I love you. I love you. He told him he was beautiful. Like, it was just like it seemed like all of those 9 years that he wasn't able to connect. Like he wanted to get it out, like wanted to let him know. So it was really amazing.
Yeah. I just to add to that, my first, one of my first, so I worked 95% when I was getting certified. I worked with people outside of my area. But there was a mom who demanded that I meet with her son personally. Like she was just like, no, we're not doing this long distance thing that you got going. I want him to see you. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So he came over to my room and he was sitting right here. And I remember like yesterday, it was the most beautiful thing that ever happened was, he came in with his head kind of sunken low. And I was like, I'm like 11 years old. I'm like, really? Like just really sad, And I said, hey man, so what do you look forward to? Like, what do you, he's like, not much. I'm like, yeah, what makes you happy? He's like, I don't know. I was just like, really? I'm like, dude, you haven't even lived life yet. Like, there's so much more years to live. Like, there's so much, this world's an amazing place, He's like, yeah. So I knew like he had some type of depression, like something was going on. And it was interesting. The first session that I had with him, as I was working with him, something happened where I got stuck at 9 years old. And then basically it was like sorrow. And as soon as I'm like, well, I found sorrow here. Let me just clear this real quick. And I took this magnet and I put it on his back. And I remember, I almost feel like this was like a movie moment because it was too cinematic. It was like, as soon as I put this magnet on his spine area, like the tear came simultaneously when I moved the magnet. It was like at the same time. It was like the magnet went down, the tear went down at the same time. And then I said, hey, are you okay? He's like, yeah, no. He's like, I'm fine. I'm fine. And then I'm like, well, let's just keep going here. And then, because I thought he was going to recover. He didn't recover from that crying. And I said, okay, well, let's look for more. And then there was like sorrow, depression, like all these different things. And I just kept rolling it. And then he just started crying. Like he couldn't stop crying. I said, hey, if you don't mind me asking, like what happened at age 9? And he's like, it's all my fault. It's all my fault. And I'm like, what's all your fault? And then he says, my dog died. It's all my fault. And then I was like what happened, And his mom was like, she remembers the, sorry, I'm trying to get emotional here, but the mom was she like says, oh yeah, the dog passed away or whatever, right? And I was like, but it wasn't a big deal for her. Kind of interesting, right? Like it's not a big deal for us as the parents, but it's the world sometimes for the kid, And so he's there and he's like, if I would have taken care of my dog, my mom wouldn't have given the dog to my grandma, and there was a freak accident. And it died at my grandma's house. It's my fault, right? But I'm telling you, I got the longest Facebook message from his mom afterwards. Like, he started enjoying school. He started doing chores at the house, like happily, no grudges. He started walking up straight. He used to walk with like kind of a down thing. He walked up straight. He stayed after school for extracurricular activities. His grades shot up. I mean, she just couldn't write a longer message on Facebook. Like, it was, and so that just shows that, again, kids have these trapped emotions. They, and most of them have their heart walls really early on. And because of that, the mother said, can you please clear his heart wall, clear his trapped emotions? And I told her, I said, you're giving the biggest gift to your child, because he's going to know his mission early. He's going to feel love from you every single day if you provide it for him. Like, he's actually going to feel it. He's not going to be numb about it. But most kids right now, if they're giving you attitude or whatever, it's not because you're not giving them love. It's because they don't feel it. And it's not your fault. It's actually the fault of the fact that they have this wall that's blocking it, you see? And so anyway, that's just one of my favorite stories, is this child that I worked with. And so, yeah, I love working with kids. I love seeing what happened. But that's one of the more personal ones, just because he was one of the first 10 people I worked with. So.
Amazing, amazing. I know also you showed me a cool little video about veterans, and by the time I was done with said video, I was like, oh my God, I love this. So do you want to tell us a little bit about, what your goal is with veterans, kind of what you're doing in that area?
Sure. Real quick is I went to military school for 3 years in JROTC, an Army Navy Academy. And I wish I had this sort of like whoop whoop, but there's nothing to go along with it. But the thing is, I was actually taken care of I was mentored by military people, Army and Navy. It makes sense. They were both there, and a lot of them have been to war. I know someone who went to Vietnam and requested to come back 2 more times after getting shot. I mean, like, these people are like American to the bone. But the problem is that I called up one of them 5-10 years later, and they were suffering with PTSD. And he says, I lost my job, and I have to stop by this clinic once a week, and da-da-da. Like, his whole life was in shambles. And so I have a heart, like, because they mentored me and they added so much value to me, we have a special in a coding alternative where if you're a veteran and there's some type of proof that you have PTSD or some serious chronic depression, chronic anxiety, we'll actually provide all our services for free, so at no cost. And so our goal is to help 24 veterans a year. So that's basically 2 veterans a month. And Carson would take one, and I'm going to take one. And we're going to clear their heart wall. Then we're going to go all the way back to their past and neutralize and give peace to their whole entire past. And so we've already worked with a lady who was in the Navy, and she can't even describe the feelings she's been feeling ever since she's had the emotion code sessions. And so we're going to bless a ton of people. And so if you know people that are in the military have PTSD, know that they have a home at Coding Alternative. Like, we're not even going to accept donations from them. Like, we're just going to help them out just to give back to our country. So.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And any veterans that, my husband is a veteran, and it's no veteran that is tough and hardcore wants to feel broken or needy. It is not that at all. It is truthfully the most selfless thing you can do, to come to Emanuel and Karsten and ask for assistance. I mean, it's just like, if you're out there on the field and you don't know how to do a certain task, you ask one of your people that is in your crew to help you and to assist you in getting that mission done. And in this case, the mission is getting you through life without hurting yourself, without hurting anyone else, and being able to help and affect other people in a good way. So if you are in the military and you feel like that, definitely don't. And, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to connect with my husband. He started working. Really, really amazing thing. So yeah, I definitely, I know we've been chatting on here for a while, and everybody's probably learned about 10 million times more than they knew about any of this. So I definitely won't take up too much more of your time, but I want everyone to know how they get a hold of you, what they should do, what's the next step if they say, I want to.
Okay. Yeah, we got about 95% of that. I was kind of cutting out a little bit, but I got the gist of it. Can you hear me okay clearly, by the way?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. Okay, so yeah, basically our practice is called Coding Alternative. It's CODING, Coding Alternative.com. And you can find us on Facebook. We do have a .com, codingalternative.com, and there's some testimonials on there. But I highly recommend going to the Facebook one. So just look up Coding Alternative on Facebook. And the reason why is because I love personally reading stories. We have over 140 five-star reviews. And you can kind of read, you can read kind of what people are experiencing through the emotion code, and it's just, it's a beautiful thing to see people, all walks of life, use the emotion code for their advantage. And so we also provide a free session. So if anybody would like a free 1 hour complimentary session where they want to work with me, then we provide that. And then I actually remove some trapped emotions. I even lower pain, sometimes 30, 60, 90% during 20 minutes. And they can see for themselves, like, there is a feeling that you feel when you start removing trapped emotions from your body. It's not just all mental. Your body feels something, and like a peace, calmness, sort of lightness feeling. But on top of that, pain might go away, where you start moving around. You're like, hey, you know what? My neck doesn't hurt anymore. And then the next day, your neck doesn't hurt anymore. And it continues that way. Like, something's going on because my body pain that I've had for 10, 15 years is gone now. So it's a pretty interesting. I want to like they say, have the tongue in my mouth match the one in my shoes. So how I do that is by providing a complimentary session so that they can see, like, if you're skeptical, it's like, bring your skepticism. If you have faith, bring your faith, and then I'll basically provide it, and I'll provide the information on the emotion code, and we'll do some healing. And so the best way I would say is, again, just contact us via Facebook. I do have a personal number that I can if you message me on Facebook, you can find me too. My name is Emanuel Zevallos. But I think the easiest way is go through Facebook. And then I think below, what we'll do on this thing is I'll leave you on this whole video thing. I'll leave a link where you can set up your free session. That'll be very easy for you. You can just set it up by yourself, see my calendar, and you can put yourself in there for a slotted hour. So.
Amazing. We appreciate so much your time here this evening. And I know you'll probably get some messages down there with questions. And, what I say is, anybody that is like, this could help me, it doesn't hurt to go get your free session. You get emotions cleared out of you that allow you to get on the track to where you want to be. And, it just makes sense. And I love, I'm going to use that quote from now on. Say it again. Put your tongue in your mouth where your shoe is. Wait, that's all right.
Make sure that the tongue in my mouth matches the one in my shoes.
Okay, good. I don't want to lick my shoes. So let's get it there. So thank you again, Emanuel, and everyone that joined us. Thank you for your time, and share this with a friend. If you got value from this interview today, share this message, because I found out about that tagging me in an interview, and then I got into YouTube. So you never know whose lives you will change, and not just one, but now literally hundreds and thousands of people will learn about this just because one good friend of mine tagged me in it. So never think that one little action is little, because it's massive. So we'll leave you with that tonight, and thank you all again, and we'll talk with all of you soon.
Bye.